Everyone start packing. No time to explain.
Rick?
Dad, what's wrong?
Someone just killed the decoy family.
Rick Sanchez? He's not just on the Galactic Federation's most wanted list. He's practically the entire list, but we've barely peeked into the interdimensional filing cabinet of his crimes. In this video, we're breaking down Rick's criminal career into 5 shocking categories that'll make you question everything you thought you knew about our favorite drunk scientist. From destroying entire civilizations to breaking the laws of nature itself, Rick's rap sheet is longer than the infinity of realities he's hopped through. So grab your portal gun and get ready for a wild ride through Rick's multiversal misdeeds. Trust me, you won't believe what we've uncovered. Alright, so we've covered Rick's general disregard for, well, everything. But now let's zoom in on his favorite pastime, turning entire planets into cosmic confetti. You know how some people have a green thumb? Well, Rick's got more of a kaboom thumb. Rick's planetary destruction is like a force of nature, unstoppable, unpredictable, and leaving devastation in its wake. Take that time he turned an entire planet into a car battery. He basically took a whole civilization and decided they'd make a better power source for his ride. Talk about recycling gone wrong. But Rick doesn't stop there. He's got a habit of treating galactic prisons like they're made of Legos. Remember when he casually blew up the Galactic Federation's prison? That's like if someone decided to nuke Alcatraz, but if Alcatraz was the size of Jupiter and filled with aliens instead of Al Capone. The scale of Rick's destruction is honestly mind-boggling. We're talking billions of lives, entire ecosystems, and probably some really nice space diners. All gone because Rick woke up on the wrong side of the multiverse. It's like he's playing a cosmic game of whack-a-mole, but instead of moles, it's planets. And instead of a mallet, he's got a death ray. Now here's where things get really weird. Technically, Rick could argue he's not destroying property, just relocating it to another dimension. Yeah, good luck explaining that one to the space judge, Rick. Your Honor, I didn't blow up that planet. I just helped it explore alternative dimensional real estate options. I'm sure that'll go over well. But let's break it down. In our legal system, destroying property is bad enough. But what happens when the property is an entire civilization? We don't exactly have laws on the books for, oops, I accidentally the whole planet. The closest we've got is probably laws against war crimes or crimes against humanity. But even those fall short when you're dealing with crimes against entire alien species. And don't even get me started on the paperwork. Can you imagine the insurance claim? Reason for destruction, bored scientist with a god complex. The deductible on that must be astronomical. Literally, if we added up all the property damage Rick's caused across dimensions, he'd probably owe more money than exists in the entire multiverse. And you thought your student loans were bad. Rick's tab is so high he'd need to invent a new form of currency just to start paying it off. Maybe Rick coins will be the next big thing in intergalactic finance. Alright, so let's dive right into Rick's experiments. Remember Anatomy Park? Rick built a theme park inside a homeless guy named Ruben. Talk about violating human rights laws. Imagine the paperwork. Location, some dude's internal organs. Good luck getting that approved by any ethics board. Legal citation, Multiversal Statute 42.69. Unauthorized use of human biology for entertainment purposes. Moving from the absurdity of Anatomy Park to the chaos of love potion mishaps, we've got the infamous Cronenberg incident. Rick whipped up a concoction to help Morty get his crush, but it backfired spectacularly. The entire world turned into Cronenberg monsters. It's like playing God on a multiversal scale, and abandoning that reality for a fresh one? That's burning down your house because you spilled wine on the carpet. Legal citation, Interdimensional Code 404, reckless endangerment of entire realities. You might think Rick draws the line at experimenting on family, right? Wrong. Remember the pickle incident? Sounds silly, but he turned himself into a pickle to avoid family therapy, endangering his own life. And let's not forget how often he uses Morty as a human shield or forces him into dangerous situations for science. But here's the real mindbender. How do you regulate science that breaks reality itself? Rick's shattering the very concept of what's possible. He's created sentient robots, messed with DNA, and hops between dimensions like we changed TV channels. The scary part? Rick doesn't have any ethical guidelines. It's all fair game for his curiosity or convenience. He's like a kid with a chemistry set, except the set is the entire multiverse, and the kid is an alcoholic genius with a god complex. If there was an intergalactic ethics board, Rick would be their most wanted. His experiments aren't just mad science, they're a complete disregard for everything. Safety protocols? Nah. Informed consent? Never heard of it. Long-term consequences? That's a problem for another dimension's Rick. Dr. Wong, Rick's reluctant family therapist, had this to say: Rick's disregard for ethical boundaries isn't just scientifically reckless, it's emotionally devastating for those around him. His family bears the brunt of his genius, often at the cost of their own mental health and safety. In the end, Rick's experiments are a wild ride through the multiverse, leaving a trail of ethical violations, dimensional chaos, and probably a few traumatized Mortys in their wake. It's not just pushing boundaries, it's obliterating them, one reality at a time. And the scariest part? There's no sign of him slowing down or developing a conscience anytime soon. So we've covered Rick's planet-sized property damage and his complete disregard for scientific ethics. But let's switch gears and talk about something even more messed up: Rick's approach to grandparenting. You know those cheesy world's best grandpa mugs? Yeah, Rick's never getting one of those. Most grandpas take their grandkids fishing or to the park. Rick, he drags Morty, and sometimes Summer, on intergalactic crime sprees. It's like he's running an interdimensional roller coaster with no brakes, and his grandkids are the unwilling passengers. At what point does cool grandpa become criminally negligent guardian? Rick blew past that line ages ago. Let's start with the basics. Rick regularly exposes his grandkids to life-threatening situations. We're not talking about the occasional scraped knee here. We're talking alien parasites, murderous robots, and dimension-hopping disasters. Remember that time Rick left Morty to die in a Cronenberg-infested dimension? Or when he casually mentioned abandoning his original Beth? Father of the Year material right there, folks. But it's not just physical danger. Rick's constantly messing with his grandkids' mental health. Memory erasing, traumatic adventures, casual exposure to violence. It's all in a day's work for Rick. He's basically running an interdimensional trauma factory with Morty as his primary test subject. If that wasn't bad enough, imagine a world where your grandpa could turn you into a car. That's right, Rick actually transformed Morty into a vehicle. Pretty sure that violates a few child labor laws, not to mention basic human rights. Can you picture the conversation with Child Protective Services? Well, officer, I didn't endanger my grandson, I just temporarily transformed him into a motor vehicle. For science! Speaking of which, if Child Protective Services had an interdimensional branch, Rick would be their most wanted. He's a walking, talking child endangerment case. The list of charges would be longer than the Citadel's prison roster. But hey, at least the kids are learning valuable life skills, right? Like how to survive in a hostile alien environment, how to smuggle megaseeds through interdimensional customs, or how to cope with the existential dread of infinite realities. You know, the basics. And let's not forget about Rick's stellar parenting skills with Beth. Nothing says "I love you, daughter" quite like abandoning her for 20 years, then popping back into her life to drag her son into dangerous adventures. It's like he's going for some kind of worst father-grandfather combo award. The real kicker? Rick's not just endangering his own family, he's putting entire universes at risk, often with Morty in tow. It's like, take your grandkid to work day, if your job was interdimensional menace to society. Alright, let's talk about Rick's hobby of treating the laws of physics like a suggestion box at a fast food joint. You know how most people struggle to understand quantum mechanics? Well, Rick's out there making quantum mechanics struggle to understand him. Now imagine if you had a remote control for reality, but it was constantly malfunctioning and tearing holes in the TV screen of space-time. That's basically Rick's portal gun, complete with burps and mysterious green goo. But here's the real head-scratcher. How do you even begin to prosecute someone who can just hop to another reality where their crimes aren't illegal? It's like trying to give a speeding ticket to the Flash. Rick's reality-bending shenanigans go way beyond just portal hopping. Remember when he froze time for 6 months? That's not your average party trick. It's a complete disregard for causality. Picture the chaos if everyone could put the universe on pause. Sorry, I'm late to work, boss. I froze time to binge-watch Ball Fondlers. And don't get me started on Rick's habit of messing with alternate versions of himself and his family. It's identity theft on a cosmic scale. Can you imagine explaining that to the interdimensional IRS? No, you see, it wasn't me who claimed those deductions. It was me from Universe C-137. Good luck sorting that out. Then there's the Citadel of Ricks, an entire society built on reality hopping. It's like immigration law had a baby with quantum physics, and that baby grew up to be a bureaucratic nightmare. Regular politics is child's play compared to dealing with an infinite number of Ricks, each convinced they're the Rickest Rick. But here's the real mindbender. In a multiverse with infinite realities, is Rick actually expanding our understanding of the universe or just royally messing it up? On one hand, he's pushing the boundaries of what we thought was possible. On the other, he's shoving those boundaries off a cliff while chugging a beer. If there was an interdimensional court, Rick would be public enemy number one. He's not just bending the rules of reality, he's tying them into a pretzel and dunking them in Szechuan sauce. But good luck trying to keep him in an interdimensional jail. He'd probably turn it into a mini golf course or something equally ridiculous before you could say wubba lubba dub dub. Now, let's dive into Rick's financial shenanigans across the multiverse. You might think blowing up planets is bad, but wait until you see how he treats entire economies. Rick funds his crazy inventions and interdimensional adventures through financial crime on a galactic scale. Forget steady jobs or smart investments. Our favorite mad scientist has turned economic warfare into an art form spanning multiple realities. Remember when Rick crashed an entire planet's economy with a device that creates value out of thin air? We're talking about counterfeiting that would make the US Treasury look like a kid with Monopoly money. Imagine someone printing infinite cash on Earth, then multiply that chaos by an infinite number of planets. That's Rick's impact on the multiverse economy. But why stop at messing with currency when you can go straight to the source? Rick's got a knack for stealing advanced tech from other dimensions. It's industrial espionage cranked up to 11. Instead of nabbing company secrets, he's swiping inventions that could revolutionize entire civilizations. And trust me, it's not for the greater good. It's all about making his life easier or funding his next bender. Speaking of funding, let's talk about Rick's side hustle as an arms dealer, selling weapons to assassins on Earth? Small potatoes. When you're trading planet-destroying tech to the highest bidder across multiple realities, you're breaking so many intergalactic laws they'd need a new multiversal courthouse just to process the paperwork. And then there's the scams. Oh boy, the scams. Remember when Rick conned the literal devil? You know you're operating on a whole other level when Satan himself is filing a complaint with the Better Business Bureau. It's like running a cosmic Ponzi scheme. But instead of just ripping off a bunch of rich people, Rick's potentially destabilizing entire alternate realities. Here's a wild thought. How would you even begin to calculate the damages when your victim is an entire dimension? It's not like you can just add up the receipts and send Rick a bill. We're talking about economic ripple effects that could span countless realities and timelines. If there was an intergalactic IRS, they'd need a supercomputer the size of a solar system just to start crunching the numbers on Rick's tax evasion. But here's the kicker. In a twisted way, you could argue that Rick is actually stimulating the multiverse economy. Every time he crashes a planet's financial system or introduces some impossible technology, he's forcing that reality to adapt and evolve. It's like he's the multiverse's most chaotic economic stimulus package. Imagine if the 2008 financial crisis had a baby with a Galactic Federation riot. That's Rick's brand of economic help. Alright, let's wrap up our look at Rick Sanchez's cosmic crime spree. We've seen him trash planets, mess with reality, and treat the multiverse like his playground. Imagine if the Galactic Federation finally caught up to him. Picture an interdimensional courtroom with Rick on trial for his wild antics. The judge reads off charges that sound like the craziest sci-fi heist movie ever, and there's Rick, probably cracking jokes and plotting his escape. What crime do you think they'd charge him with first? Drop your guess in the comments. Remember, next time you watch Rick and Morty, you're not just seeing wacky adventures. You're witnessing the most epic universe-spanning crime spree ever. Wooba lubba dub dub.